Gab and Juls show. Today, Sid Lowe joins the guys to answer just what is happening at Barcelona. And now from the ESPN newsroom in London, here's Julian Laurens and Stuart Robson.
Hello and welcome to the Gab and Juls show. I'm Jules. Gab isn't here. He's on holidays in Scotland somewhere. So Stuart Robson is with us again today.
Good morning to you, and I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you for being here. And we also have Sid Lowe in Barcelona in Spain because that's the only way.
Absolutely.
We have to go, Stuart, because obviously everything that's happening with Messi, with Barcelona. Sid, let's start straight away with Bartomeu, because I think that's the very interesting part of it as well. One, if Bartomeu does resign, and clearly he seems to be one of the issues that Messi is having with the club right now, could that mean that Messi could stay? Could that change a bit what Messi wants to do? And secondly, why is he still there anyway? Why is he still hanging up to the job?
Well, both of those questions actually have relatively simple answers. Now, of course, the complexities of the situation means it's not quite as clear-cut as that, but the relatively simple version of the two answers there is that Bartomeu is a big reason for the situation in terms of the context to it and in terms of the causes of reaching this point. But he's no longer a solution insofar as his removal would remedy this. It's gone beyond him now, and to give you if you like, the public expression of that, Victor Font, who's the key opposition candidate when presidential elections come around next year, he told Spanish radio, I think last night it was, or the night before, he said that he'd spoken to Messi's camp, and he said that while the only chance of Messi, possibly even the remotest tiny chance of Messi changing his mind, depended on Bartomeu being forced out, he said, Messi's camp tells me, and bear in mind that as a politician, he could have been far more cynical and said, and used this. He said, Messi can't tell me that the decision is made anyway. So it's gone beyond whether or not Bartomeu is there. Now, had Bartomeu gone a month ago, certainly 6 months ago, certainly a year ago or 2 years ago, we may never have reached this point. But once we've reached this point, there isn't really a way to turn back. Now, even if the legal battle means that Messi is forced to stay, if you like, that kind of point of broken, that sort of sense of being broken now, that cannot be fixed. In terms of why is Bartomeu still there? Well, because really and truly he has nothing to gain by resigning. Now, the only thing he can really gain by resigning maybe is a little bit of face, maybe is a little bit of, if you like, sort of dignity, or a sense that he fell on his sword at the right time. But he would argue that walking out now, leaving this sinking ship, would be the wrong thing to do. More importantly, if you try and leave to save face, to try and protect yourself, to try and not look so bad, well, yeah, okay, but he too is beyond that point now. No one's ever going to forgive him for this anyway now. So in other words, leaving doesn't help. And the one thing that he gains by staying is something far more tangible. He gains the chance to use this transfer window and the January transfer window before his presidency comes to an end. Why does he need to do that? Because Barcelona are in massive financial trouble. If at the end of his administration, the end of his time in charge at Barcelona, the financial targets are not met, then he and his board would be personally liable for the shortfall. In other words, this has a massive tangible economic impact potentially on him and his board members.
So he would have to pay with his own money if the club is in debt.
Exactly. It could cost them an awful lot of money. So what is Bartomeu's target now? Given that all the other things are broken, I'm not going to claim that he doesn't care about those other things, but right now there's something far more important, and that effectively is protecting himself and his board members. So essentially what Bartomeu has got now is 9 or 10 months before the next elections, which can happen any time after March, to try and clean this mess up. To try and find a way around this now, so that when the new regime comes in, when they look at the figures, they're not in a position where they can begin what's known as a responsibility action against this board of directors.
You know how much I dislike Bartomeu, and I've mentioned it a lot on the FC show. I think he's destroyed the club. Neymar left when he was the president. He hired Valverde. Now Messi could live under him as well. Is this the worst presidency that we've seen in Barcelona history? Because that would hurt far more than, I don't know, other players leaving in the past and other situations where the club had been struggling before. But this is unprecedented, right?
I'm going to steal someone's joke here, and apologies because I don't know whose joke it was. It's a classic thing that you see a nice line on Twitter and you take it as your own. And the joke with many a true word said in jest and all that. And I saw someone mention the other day, it said, Jose Maria Bartomeu is the best president in, I'll try and say that again in English, shall I? Jose Maria Bartomeu is the best president in Real Madrid's history. And that's
Exactly. Yeah, well, probably the best president in Real Madrid history. Stu, could you see Barcelona recovering from this if you lose Messi? And some people think maybe it's not a bad idea because you're going to free some money in your wage bill, for example. He's 33. Then it's maybe the right time to rebuild. What do you think?
I think it is the right time to rebuild, but you'd like to rebuild with Messi in the side and build a team around him. But that's if they can get the money in and they can get some better players in. It's going to be a very difficult time for Koeman. You know, he's done a decent job with the national team in Holland. And he's going to take over a team that are in disarray at the moment. There's got some aging players. Some of the younger players haven't quite performed as well as they should do. He's got a really tough job on his hand. It's a strange time to take the job because he's always wanted the Barcelona job. It's not the time to take them to the next level at the moment. And he might only get one season as well.
That's a very good point. Sid, how do you see them recovering from this? How do you, if you lose Messi now, for someone who's been so important, I mean, they're so dependent on him, far more than Cristiano was at Real Madrid, for example. How do they bounce back and how do they survive even?
Well, in a way, you don't ever recover from this, ever. And by that, I mean that, look, there is an argument that says in footballing terms, this may not be a bad time. In footballing terms, this could play out reasonably well, that, you know, you generate the money that you need. There are some very good players in that squad. There are weaknesses in that squad, without doubt. There's some very good players in that squad who perhaps taken out of Messi's shadow can perform far better. You can change some of the culture of the club. You can shift some of the power, if you like, kind of the pockets of power there, which have been problematic for the club. And obviously it is worth mentioning this, and I say this as someone who thinks that Messi is the best player I've ever seen and probably the best player I ever will see. But of course, some of Barcelona's failures, you have to look at them in the context of him as well, and he has to take responsibility for some of those as well as their successes. And so I think there is a scenario in which, in footballing terms, in terms of how things go next year, the year after, and so on, in which Barcelona could find a way through this. But the reason I say they never recover from this is because, in a way, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they sort this out. I mean, of course it matters because that's what a football club's there for, but it doesn't matter in that this moment will never go away. This will always be that historic moment in which the best player who ever played for them, and possibly ever played for anyone, was forced to the door. That things got so bad that Lionel Messi, a guy who turned up at Barcelona at the age of 12, who's been there for 20 years, who made his house there, who always said he was going to retire there, who said he wanted to be a one-club man, and that club was going to be Barcelona, who was their everything. And, you know, you drew the comparison with Ronaldo, but in terms of symbolism, Messi is far bigger than Ronaldo. Now, Ronaldo's now at his fourth club. Messi was a one-club man, and somehow Barcelona managed to find themselves in a position in which things were done so badly that even Messi walked away.
Thanks, Sid. That was great. Let's keep an eye on this because you could expect more twists. We don't know where he will be playing. There's some clubs that will want to sign him, and we will discuss that with Stu in a moment. But Sid, thank you so much for all your great insight again.
Thanks, Sid.
Welcome back to ESPN FC presents the Gab and Juls show. And now with more on Lionel Messi's future, here's Jules and Stuart.
Right, Stu, now that we looked into what's happening in the club, maybe technicalities and everything, there's still obviously the issue of the release clause or not. Messi believes that he can go on a free or for a very small fee. Barcelona say, hang on a minute, you still have your release clause.
Yeah.
700 million euros, who no one can pay. But anyway, let's assume that he's on a free.
Yeah.
Where do you think he would fit the best? And maybe your answer would be City and Guardiola, and that's no problem, but where do you think he will fit the most?
It will be City and Pep Guardiola because, first of all, it's so important that you know the manager, you have a good understanding with the manager, what you expect from him, what he expects from you. But I also think he'll fit into their team. You know, he could play in a role behind the main striker with two wide players that have got pace in behind, a centre forward, Aguero or Jesus, who will run in behind as well and be good with their backs to the goal, particularly Aguero in and around the box. And then Lionel Messi can play in the hole just in behind them. You know, Kevin De Bruyne can play in a central midfield position.
Yeah.
So that would work. PSG would also work because you'd have a front three, and Neymar you could use the front three how you wanted to, because you could play Mbappe wide, you could play Neymar wider on the right, and Messi as the withdrawn 10, or you could put Mbappe up front.
Oh my God, you get me excited.
Yeah.
Come on,
you can play any formation with that front three. He couldn't play for somewhere like Liverpool because Liverpool were all about running in behind, pace of closing down, the energy you have to close down. Now at 33, I'm not sure you still want Lionel Messi. I'm not sure he's got it in him now to go and close people down and be pressing from the front. So he could play for Man City, he could play for PSG, he couldn't play for somebody like Liverpool, because Klopp wouldn't want him in his side.
And Inter Milan were another club mentioned. Since then, I think they distanced themselves a little bit from it, but they have a very strong identity in that 3-5-2.
Yeah.
But do you think Messi has to go in a club with a strong identity, or that could work, or he could go somewhere and then you almost create an identity
Depending
around
who the manager is. If he went to Inter Milan, Antonio Conte is not going to change his system. He plays with the same system most of the times. It's a back three with two wing backs. He plays with two front players that he wants to link up with each other. The only place that he could play for Antonio Conte was be as a centre forward alongside Lukaku.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he'd want to do that. He'd want to come deeper to get the ball, because he's not as athletic as he once was. He can still run past people with the ball, but he's not going to be making run after run after run, which Antonio Conte would expect him to do. So I don't think that would be a match.
What about Manchester United, who maybe don't have a strong identity to say, technically exactly that, but I guess Solskjaer can accommodate him and maybe play with Bruno Fernandes.
I think he could accommodate him in a wider area, because remember, Bruno Fernandes has done brilliantly in the number 10 role. Anywhere that Messi goes, you've got to have people that are willing to run beyond him. Because he's not that player anymore. He's the player. He's a creative player. He can run with the ball, but he's also a brilliant passer of the ball. When he drops that little bit deeper, gets himself on the half turn and plays balls over the top for runners. So the likes of Martial and the likes of Rashford could make runs off of him. But you're going to have to accommodate Rashford, Martial, Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, Mason Greenwood, who's doing very well at the moment. So I can't see Manchester United being the team that would take him at the moment. I think he's got to go to a team that are at the very top of their game. Man City would be one, PSG would be another. Again, I don't think it'd suit Bayern Munich.
Chelsea?
It's
an interesting one, because again, they're building something special, but maybe he wants a team that is ready to win now, that could win you the Champions League.
And I think
Chelsea
he's got to go to a team that have got every chance of winning the title and are going to dominate most games. Manchester City, if you look at their percentage of possession, it's usually 67 to 75% every game. That's where Lionel Messi wants to play in the side that do that. If he went to PSG in Liga, they probably have 65 to 75% possession in most of the games. At the moment, Manchester United don't do that. They have to fight for possession. They have to try and win it back. And some of the other clubs, the other team would be Bayern Munich. But again, they win a lot of balls pressing high up the field. I'm not sure that Lionel Messi would fit into that.
No, that's right. I mean, we know that Pep Guardiola and Messi's entourage have already spoken. I think clearly Man City are the front runners now if he was to really leave, and on a free as well. And I think PSG, from what I was told on Wednesday night, for example, was we're looking into it. You would be crazy if you're a football club who have that kind of money. Even if with financial fair play, you would have to be careful and make sure that you don't go too much beyond. But you would be crazy not to even think about it if you're PSG, if you're Chelsea, if you're all those top clubs. And PSG certainly are looking into it. If you think of a front three, as you said, of the M&M with Messi, Neymar and Mbappe, this is...
But it's got a combination of everything.
Right?
It's got dribbling skills with Messi and Neymar. It's got the pace and the movement of Mbappe. You've got the passing skill to add with Messi as well, because he's one of the best passers of the ball in the world. That's a great front three. You'd have to have a very defensive midfield.
Well, we can sort that out. Don't worry about that later. Just very quickly, where do you think Messi will play in a month's time, or when the season starts, or when the season underway after October?
I think he'll be playing for Pep Guardiola at Manchester City.
As much as I would love him in Paris, I think you're right.
Now, with some of the biggest stories from the world of football, it's time for Quick Hits. Over to Jules and Stuart in London.
Stu, it's time for the usual Quick Hits.
Well, let's go.
Liverpool play Arsenal in the Community Shield on Saturday in an empty Wembley. Robert, do you think this is a glorified friendly, or actually there's some sort of importance to it?
I don't think there's an importance in actually winning it. You can't say, well, you've won the Community Shield and team.
Although Mourinho and Pep...
some people do. But I think it's an important game. And I'll give you an example. Last season, Manchester City against Liverpool, in the first 20 minutes, Manchester City played really well, looked as though they were going to completely dominate. And suddenly, when Liverpool got into their rhythm and they started to press and they started to play balls over the top, they showed, I would say, an urgency. They showed a style of play that caused Man City problems. And I came away from that game thinking, I think Liverpool are going to win the title this year because I saw something in that game that made me think that they were going to be better than Manchester City.
I see what you mean.
And there was a thought process about them. You know, yes, we've just won the Champions League. Now we've outplayed Man City. Yes, we lost on penalties, but we outplayed them. And I go back a couple more years when Mourinho had never lost to Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
Remember that? And then the Community Shield, Arsenal beat Chelsea, who had come back a couple of weeks late from pre-season training, and Mourinho was sacked halfway through the season because the team never got going after that Community Shield loss, and Arsenal did quite well. So I think it's an important game, and it just sets down a marker, not about winning, about how you perform in that game.
The only issue I have this year with it is that usually you play on a Saturday or Sunday, and then the league starts 5 days later, 6-7 days later. This time we've got the international break coming in straight after, so all the national teams' head coaches now are announcing their squads, and this player will go. So Liverpool and Arteta and Klopp will have their teams.
Yeah.
As you said, I think it's important. You're going to see Saliba, for example, for Arsenal against Liverpool, and that's already a big test for him, and this is going to be great. And then they're going to lose 3/4 of their squad or half of their squad to go on international duty, and then come back and play straight into the Premier League, which I think is a bit strange.
It's strange, but it could say that this is their last really good match. So they've got to put out their best teams. They've got to play to the best of their ability. We want to see, in terms of Arsenal, we want to see new players coming into the side. How's Willian going to fit into the side? That should tell you that. As the two centre halves, how are they going to fit into the side? So it should be, I think, a very good game.
I agree.
Now, it was an all-French semi-final in the Women's Champions League, and Lyon were once again too strong for PSG, Jules.
Yes, you're right. I didn't think it was a fantastic game. I thought there were some good moments in it, and Lyon looked really strong. They scored a goal on the set piece for Wendy Renard, who's like 1.87 m, so in the air it's hard to compete with her anyway. She's a bit the Sergio Ramos of women's football because she scores so many goals, a bit like Sergio Ramos because she's so good in the air. And Lyon, I think in the end,
Does she get sent off as much?
She didn't. No. She doesn't, and she didn't in the game. Although there was 2 red cards, one for each team. Nikita Paris, the English striker, for Lyon, and then just before that, Guillaume for PSG. I think PSG is a similar feeling of they really want to knock off Lyon from their perch, to take Sir Alex's expression, but they're just coming up short every time because Lyon are so good. And I think it's not so much the talent, because it's probably even, but it's that confidence of Lyon. They know they're going to win eventually. This is their 5th Champions League final in a row. They've won the last 4. They play Wolfsburg on Sunday night.
Winning mentality.
Yeah, and I think they're going to win this one again. After fears that he would leave Inter Milan, and we talked a bit about it on Monday's show, Robo, Antonio Conte has decided to actually stay in Italy. Do you think that he's put now more pressure on himself to win Serie A next season?
Absolutely. If you go to the board, say, I'm not happy with certain things, or the president say, I'm not happy with certain things, I wasn't happy with the transfer policy, I'm not happy with this, that and the other, and the president says, OK, you can have all those things, and you've got full control over who comes in and who goes out, you know, and we pay you a lot of money, we're going to keep you to your 2-year contract. He's putting himself under massive pressure, because if it all starts to go wrong early on in the season, the president says to him, we gave you all these things and you haven't delivered. Because the only way that Conte has success next year is if they win Serie A. That's the only thing that will be successful in terms of Inter's, certainly in the president's eyes, Inter. They have to win the title, and he's put himself under a great deal of pressure. He has to win that, or he'll probably be out.
Do you think that his strategy, maybe his plan, and we know at times he can be a bit Machiavellic, was, okay, I'm going to give that interview after the Europa League final where I hint the fact that I can leave, then the club sort of panics a little bit and say yes to everything he asks, and then he's coming back in a much stronger position, albeit under pressure?
He's in a stronger position. I think the Christian Eriksen one was one that he didn't want to happen, because he doesn't. Christian Eriksen, when he was signed, I thought he doesn't fit into anywhere where Antonio Conte lays out his team, his formation. So why has he got him? So now we find out that he didn't really want him. So that won't happen again, I shouldn't think. And he will try and get the players in that he wants.
Yeah.
The 2019-2020 Champions League may just be over, but the 2021 campaign has already started, and we saw some big upsets, Jules.
Yes, Robert, we had qualifiers already, the second round, and Celtic have been knocked out by Ferencváros from Hungary in Glasgow as well. 2-1. They're single leg. You know, usually they're home and away. Obviously, because of the pandemic, it's single leg. Celtic out already, and I think it's a disgrace for them to be knocked out by Ferencváros so early in the season. Even if it's Oton Edouard was in there.
Hungarian football isn't what it was many years ago. It's a poor league.
It's crazy. Besiktas also being knocked out by PAOK, and then in the third round you've got the bigger boys like Dynamo Kiev and Benfica who are coming in, but already a few interesting results that we've seen in the Champions League. Dean Henderson has signed a new deal at United, Robo, 5-year deal. If you were Manchester United manager now, which might happen one day, we don't know, would you play De Gea or would you play Henderson?
I'm still a De Gea fan. I know
even despite all the mistakes.
Despite the mistakes, if he's at the club, I think you play him because he has proved on many occasions to be their number one goalkeeper. He's been a great goalkeeper. At one point, I think he was probably the world's best goalkeeper. He's gone off the boil slightly. If I was the Manchester United manager, I might be thinking of selling him because if he makes 2 or 3 mistakes this season, everybody's onto it. You know, there's that. If you don't make any mistakes for several years and you make 2, people forget about them. But because he's made mistakes over the last couple of years, as soon as he makes one next season, he might play brilliantly for 3 or 4 games. As soon as he makes one mistake, the press are going to be onto him again. Why aren't you playing somebody else in goal? If he's at the club, I would play him. But if I was Solskjaer, I'd be looking to get rid of him at some point.
And then start Henderson, even if he's young and only had 1 season in the Premier League with Sheffield United, albeit great.
Yeah, and then start Dean Henderson in goal.
Interesting.
If De Gea's there, I think I would play him because I still think he's a top-class goalkeeper. But if he makes a couple of mistakes, if I was Solskjaer, I'll be looking now to get rid of him because I think he's past his best.
Yeah.
Weston McKennie is heavily linked with a move to Juventus, Jules. Does it make sense to you?
I think so, Robo. There might be a lot of Juventus fans who never watched him play with Schalke or in the Bundesliga or with the US national team, who don't really know what he's about. But I think Antonio Conte and Andrea Pirlo was saying, like, listen, I want a new midfield, and I want that midfield to press high, to recover the ball really high, to have that sort of intensity, that work rate in midfield. And I think McKennie is perfect for that. That's exactly why he is. He's like a better version, a younger version of Matuidi, if you want. I think he's got ability on the ball, but he can improve that. He needs to improve that. But in terms of how much he will chase the ball, work, press, etc., that's perfect. It's exactly what Juve wants. He's not too expensive either, and they don't have much money, so that could work. And then it's down to him to step up a level to show that he can play at that level for Juventus.
Can he get the creativity needed to match his athleticism and his work rate?
So that's the question, and maybe he will improve with the ball. I think he's really hard-working, but I think you still need someone next to him who will be able to have that sort of creative touch.
This is a big issue I have. There's too many midfield players that are one thing or the other.
True.
You need to have both. If you're a midfield player, you need to have both. Hopefully he's got both of those things.
But not many people can. That's the thing. Be both, good on the ball and attacking wise.
Midfield players used to be.
Yeah,
you made midfield players and midfield players because they could do both sides of the job. They had to be good defensively and they had to be good on the ball. Now we see holding midfield players that are either an unusual Gino who can't defend, but it keeps the team ticking over, or you get defensive midfield players that are just good blocking off spaces and getting tackles in, but then can't play with the ball. And you get attacking players that can't defend. That's why Eriksen can't find a spot in the team for Antonio Conte, because he's good on the ball but can't defend.
But it'd be very interesting to see if McKennie does happen. And by the way, it's his birthday, I think, on Friday. So, happy birthday to him. If he can make it at Juventus. Robo, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure again.
Thank you.